So I've got everything: mushrooms, carrots, red onion, celery, bay leaves, thyme.
I'm in London to see our friends from Bosh, experts in plant-based cooking, as I want to find out how much I can reduce my carbon impact by making a few different food choices. I've got my ingredients and I'm hoping the Bosh Boys will help me make something easy and low cost that I can batch cook on a Sunday ahead of a busy filming week with the Everything Electric show.
Okay, we can make that happen.
We certainly can.
So I think what we'd recommend would be essentially a beef ragu. But
Wait,
obviously
hang on.
no beef, no beef here. We're going to show you how to use mushrooms instead.
All right.
And that will make it so much more efficient from a carbon perspective.
Right.
Also super affordable, and batch cooking will make it even easier on your time. So you'll just cook one batch on a Sunday and then eat the same thing all the way through the week.
Wow.
Except
batch cooking usually is actually quite boring because you cook one thing,
Yeah.
you eat that same thing again and again and again. But with this recipe, we've tackled that problem. We're going to turn that base recipe into 5 separate dishes, which are all going to be delicious.
Right. Oh, God. I've never seen this before. If you like Everything Electric, then you'll love our live events. Next up, we're in Amsterdam for Fully Charged Live Europe on the 24th, 25th and 26th of November.
right.
So here we go. So there are our red onions. Don't need the red onion, but red onion just adds a little bit of colour.
Yeah.
And they need to be pulsed. Yep.
Oh
There
my
we
God.
go. Look at that.
Oh my God. That's doing it. So is that, you don't want it like mushed down? You just
Yeah,
want
no, you're nearly there. That's about right.
Is that
I'd
about
say.
right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So think about how long that would have taken
Oh,
if you were
if
chopping,
you were chopping
with a
it,
knife.
it would take
Yeah. So that's good. So now what we all need to do, we need to kick off some olive oil. And you know when like recipes say, oh, like
Yeah,
quarter of a
teaspoon.
tablespoon,
Yeah, yeah.
teaspoon. It's like, nah, man, get it in there.
Yeah.
Because olive oil is super good for you.
Yeah.
And also it just makes the cooking process that much easier.
Right. I
Onions
this
in.
as well. No gas. We're talking
So
about.
just get all those
So
little
I'll
bits out of
scrape all
there.
that out,
Yeah,
yeah.
perfect.
A little scraper here as well. If you, I don't know.
Oh,
if
that scraper. That's what I want. Oh, yeah.
See if you can get it in there.
All the
Oh, look at
gear.
that. Come on.
Got all the kit.
Okay, so that is on.
Yep.
Now, there's one thing missing. What do
yeah?
you think it is?
Salt and pepper. I don't know.
Bit of salt.
Bit of salt.
Well done. Top marks. Where's the salt?
So we've got some salt just
Anyone?
back there.
Salt? There we go.
All right. Okay.
Grab some of that salt. So it's always good to pop a little bit of salt on those
Right, so I'll
onions.
just do a little sprinkle.
Yeah, exactly. Because what you're doing is you're layering that seasoning. You're making
that
sure
enough?
the whole dish is seasoned.
So I've got a confusion then. What is the difference between a plant-based diet and a vegan diet?
The difference between veganism and plant-based food is the ideals surrounding the reason why someone is doing it. So, for instance, I would say that, say if someone approaches plant-based food through the lens of wanting to do it because of animal rights,
Right.
they're vegan, right? But if someone's wanting to do it because of health, they are more likely going to be on the plant-based
Right.
side of things. And that is basically the basic distinct difference between the two terminologies. And the products that we have, like we always describe them as plant-based, the ones that we have in supermarkets. Because, you know, if you're walking down the aisle and you think, I want to live a little bit healthier and get some more plants into my diet, you'll gravitate toward plant-based. But the word vegan for some people might be quite difficult to
Yeah.
understand,
Yeah.
so it might be a repellent. Robert, can you pass me that bowl?
Oh,
please?
certainly can.
Thank you. Because we've got round 2.
Oh, good.
Yes. So carrots.
Carrots.
Right, we've got 3 carrots there. Carrots are great because, you know, they're super healthy and also they're super cheap.
Right.
And that's another thing about this dish. It's actually really, really
cheap. I
cost
bet it's
effective.
really cheap. Yeah. yeah.
Incredible.
Just give that a. Oh my God.
So much quicker than doing it yourself.
Well, also I think because I've got a little one of these and it kind of would struggle with that. So this one just goes, what carrots? Can't tell there's anything in there. So do you want that
Get
in
'em
there?
in.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Okay.
Bosh them in. Perfect.
Right, so this is celery now. So I'll pop these in the bowl for you. And the reason why I've done a bit of pre-chopping for that blender is because if you just stick a massive stick of celery in there, it's just not going to work.
Right. Right.
So
So just have some chunks.
there we go.
There we go. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh. So this is ready. I tip this in now.
Get that in there, absolutely. Now, honestly, I would probably do all 3 of these at the same time.
Oh, what, you put them all in?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I'm a bit more lazy than Ian. Ian's very methodical in his approach to cooking, and I'm just a bit like, just bosh it all in there. But both would work, right? So.
'Cause I mean, even that, I love this thing, but I even love that. That scoops everything out so well. So now tell me, now one of the things we do on the Fully Charged show, we talk about is the kind of impact that the technology that we all use, what impact that has on the planet, all that stuff. Really complicated, really deep subject. We'll never get to the end of it. But then, you know, I've certainly thought about food, but have you kind of worked out what the difference in the kind of the impact of different diets has on the planet, if you like?
Totally. And, you know, really simply put, having more plant-based meals reduces your carbon footprint.
Right.
So if everyone cut down meat a meal a day or a meal a week, you'd have a huge impact, equivalent to taking 8 million cars, petrol-based cars, diesel-based cars off the road.
Wow.
So that's the kind of impact we can have.
And that's just in the UK?
Just in the UK.
Wow.
And if you actually want to put a number on it, one study said that if you're a meat eater, you're emitting about 10 kilos of CO2 per day.
Right.
If you're a flexitarian, so you're a bit in between, it's half that, so that's 5 kilograms of CO2 per day.
Right.
And if you're strictly vegan, it's 2.5 kg CO2 per day. So you can really make a sizable reduction of your CO2 impact just by eating more plants.
Because I'm assuming then that when they were doing those studies, because what always worries me is, you know, I've got these lovely carrots. Well, they were actually, well, let's go with carrot. They were grown in Norfolk, put in a truck, driven to a warehouse, driven to the supermarket. Then I buy them in my electric car, thinking I'm being a holier than thou. I don't. And but you know, there's been quite a big impact, even just with a bag of carrots. And so, but I presume they're taking that into account when they're doing these calculations.
They are. And there's a great study if you want to research. It's by Oxford University, a chap called Joseph Poor. And he weighed up all of the carbon equivalent impact of all of these foods, from animal-based foods to plant-based foods. And all the plant-based foods are at the bottom, i.e. the least polluting from a CO2 perspective, and that includes transport.
Right.
One thing people talk about a lot is avocados.
Yeah.
So the idea of you've got a local bit of steak, and you compare that same amount of steak with an avocado from South America, right? So people say flown, but they never fly avocados. It goes on a ship. That avocado that's come all the way from South America would give off about 200 grams of CO2 in that whole process. Yeah, and the steak, the same amount of steak, you're talking about 5 kg of CO2, and that's a local steak.
Wow.
So that's the difference in impact that we're talking about, and yet nobody knows it.
But then here's another one that I get anxious about at home is food waste, you know, which is often, and that's partly I've had to adjust from cooking for 4 when my kids are at home to cooking for 2. So I'm getting better, but I sometimes overproduce. Okay. And so that's really what I'm talking about there is cooked food. But I mean, because we've got compost, so we can put all the, like this, vegetable peelings in that. But have you got tips around that area?
I mean, a really good tip when it comes to food waste is to, this is a simple one, but I think it's actually one of the most key. Before someone goes to the supermarket to go and do their shopping, they should write a list.
Yeah.
Right, so they just need to plan the meals that they're going to eat that week, and when they get to the supermarket, they know exactly what they need to buy, so they buy the stuff that they need, and then they've got what they need for the week. Whereas if you just go to the supermarket and like, oh yeah, I'm a bit hungry,
get inspiration.
go and eat some food, and then before you know it, you've got this massive trolley overflowing, and with all this food, you get it into the fridge, and then when you get to cooking, you're like, what am I actually going to make? And you know, like the net result of it is maybe 25% of it goes in the bin, which is actually
really
terrible.
Wrong.
So
but then also just use that freezer.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about today, we're batch cooking, so you can, if you find you've made a bit too much, just siphon a bit off, whack it in the freezer. Yeah. And stuff like this as well, which is obviously food waste. If you want to get to that next level, you could be using that to make a veg stock. You pop that in a bit of water. So you just chuck all of that in, you wouldn't worry about it? Whack that in a pan. Onions are the one thing that might mess up with your stock. So a bit of onion skin is all right, but too many onions and you get a very brown stock. Right. But thick peelings like garlic, bits of carrot, celery, all of that stuff is going to add a wonderful flavour to a stock. And then you don't have to buy it, so you're saving money too. Yeah. But again, you're going to freeze that stock.
Yes. All right. Okay.
All about that freezer.
I'm doing a bit of mushroom pulsing.
Woo! Keep them going.
Invisible mushroom bits. Oh, look at that.
I mean, because this is one of my confusions, and it's because I'm thick, is about protein, because I know that we need protein. It's where you get your protein from and how efficient that is. Because a lot of people will say to me, oh, I've got to eat a steak for my protein. Yes. They don't necessarily have that voice. Yeah. That just came out of somewhere.
Yeah.
So how has this got protein in it?
We're going to add protein to this at the next stage.
Right.
So this is relatively low in protein, but all plants have some form of protein in there. And actually there's quite a lot of myth around how much protein we actually need.
Right, okay.
Depending on which doctor you want to believe and how far you want to go down that rabbit hole. But that's not for today.
Okay.
But what we're going to do is when we turn this into a chili or into a shepherd's pie, we're going to be adding things like beans, legumes, chickpeas, even sweet potato, which contain a good amount of protein.
Right. So that's definitely changed texture. It's sort of more mulchy down.
Absolutely, you'll see. And you can keep cooking this for a while, depends how long you've got. But most of the liquid has left those mushrooms. And it's starting to look more like we're cooking with beef or pork here.
Yeah, if I just walked past now, I'd just assumed you've just cooked some minced beef.
Yeah. But obviously there's not any flavour in here, so time for us to add some flavour.
Yeah, and the flavour that we're going to put in here, it's going to be quite subtle. And it's going to be not very specific to any one cuisine, because what we're going to do with this, as we said right from the get-go, is add flavours to make different dishes. So what we need here is something that's very basic that goes with most cuisines, garlic.
Right.
Okay. So that's just 3 or 4 cloves of garlic that's been grated down.
Been grated, right.
Then we've got bay leaf, because again, that's just like a really nice rounded aromatic flavour.
Right.
Give it a nice earthiness. Then I've got some thyme, which is very inoffensive, lovely herb that will go with, again, most cuisines. And then we've got some tomato puree for a bit of depth and a bit of richness, and obviously a bit of colour too. Now, I'm just going to go in with that because that's nice. And then finally, the last flavour maker of the 5 was this stuff, which is really nice balsamic vinegar for a bit of zip.
You can't go wrong with a bit of balsamic. So, I mean, what we go on about on the Fully Charged show is about energy efficient vehicles. Electric cars are intrinsically more efficient than combustion ones, but why is a plant-based diet more efficient?
Well, if you think about our body is a vehicle, and the plants or the meat are the fuel. And if we're eating those plants directly, then we get about 20% of the energy in that plant available to us to use as fuel. But if you feed those plants to a cow, let's say, the cow can get about 20% of that energy, and we then eat that cow and we get about 20% of that, which is about 4%.
Of the total, from the
plant.
grass it eats to when you eat it.
Exactly.
It's about 4%.
Eating plants is great from a land use perspective as well. If we continue eating meat the way we currently are, we'll need 2 Earths by 2030.
Right, that's
because
quite a big
it just
tall
uses
order.
so much land. Now, if everybody was just to eat a plant-based diet, it would use about 14% of the land. So it's much more efficient and ultimately would free up more agricultural land, which would be great for drawing down CO2. It could be rewilded, all of those reasons. So it's just much better to eat plants from a land use perspective as well.
So our ragu is completely ready. Look at that. I mean, it's
looking gorgeous.
Sweated down beautifully. It's got wonderful texture. There's about 1 million mushrooms in there. And that will be good for 5 days.
Right.
In the fridge.
In the fridge.
In the fridge.
Yes. And the first thing that we're going to do with this ragu is we're going to turn it into a shepherd's pie. But the shepherd's pie we're going to use is sweet potato shepherd's pie because it's just a little bit more flavourful.
Yeah. Okay.
So the first things first, they have been boiled.
They've been boiled, okay.
For 10 minutes. You could easily roast them as well.
That is great. And I've never done this. The amount of hours I've spent in my life mashing potatoes with a masher.
So mashed potato doesn't work in a food processor because it activates the starch and it becomes really, really gloopy. Whereas sweet potato
you
work.
can. So you wouldn't do this with your standard American potato.
Exactly.
Let me get that going.
Keep it going, keep it going. Look at that.
That looks great. What would you recommend goes in now?
Well, one could add a very small amount of salt.
Correct. Nice work. You just got to get those layers of flavour all the way throughout this dish. Lovely.
So if I stir that in.
Perfect.
That's perfect. Look at that.
That's very nice. That's looking very good.
Delicious.
It's looking quite professionally done, though I say so myself, even though I didn't actually cook it, I just mashed it up. Anyway.
So that's up to heat now.
Right.
We're just going to add a little bit of olive oil.
Yeah.
And once that olive oil is warm, which it is because the pan is hot, we'll add 1 decent-sized spoonful of
your ragu,
into the pan.
Is that a decent size?
I reckon that's probably
good.
right, yeah. Because this is,
we like that sound.
Love a good sizzle, right? So satisfying.
So that one is looking really good, but in order to sort of give this the protein we were talking about earlier, to give it a bit of body, to give it a bit of bite, what we've got here is a pouch of pre-cooked lentils that just go into this pan. And once we've folded all those through...
All of them?
Yep, all of them. Yep. And once we've folded that through, that becomes the filling of our shepherd's pie.
Right.
So simple, so easy.
A little bit.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. That would be all over the floor if I did that. No. Seriously, it would be on the walls, it would be on the ceiling, everything.
I mean, a little bit went on the hob.
Yeah, it's all good. And then that can go in the bottom of this tin.
Right.
Do you want to do the honours?
Yeah, man, go for it. Why not? Thank you. So we're just going to pop that into the tin like so.
Very nice.
Very good. Right, make sure all of those lentils are out of there. And then use the back of the spoon, push it all down as you would with a regular shepherd's pie. Look at how quick that was. Imagine that, like, so the part of the ragu, we did that on Sunday.
Yeah, you've got to pretend we did that the other day.
The bit that we've just done is like, 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes, then bang it in the oven.
Exactly.
And you've got a full-on meal.
Such a cool idea.
Yeah.
And then, last but not least, because that's the base, now we need the topping. So, Robert, if you'd be so kind as to top that in a really beautiful, creative manner, then we can go.
No pressure.
I'm terrified now. I will try and smooth that off. I'm worried about you holding it. You're holding it beautifully rigid. I mean, it's very, very stable.
I feel like I should put this down on the surface for you, but you're doing very well.
It's trying to get the corners.
You're a pro. Look at this. Of course, depending on how you want it to look, you can just put it in like this, or you could use a fork or a spoon to make it look a bit more pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those little lines.
Have we got a fork?
No, we've got a spoon.
How can we not have a fork in this kitchen?
It's completely ridiculous.
So I can do I'll do a little bit of decorative lineage there.
And the more lines, the better, because those ridges will create really nice crispy bits.
Ooh.
The crispy bit is always the best bit. So I'll pop it right in the oven right now.
There we go.
And this is probably going to go in for 20 minutes, and then dinner is almost served.
Very good.
Excellent.
Boom.
Perfect.
Please support our Stop Burning Stuff Patreon and help us to tackle misinformation about electric vehicles and clean energy.
Well, this looks incredible. I mean, it's amazing to think you made that one batch of stuff and that has created all these meals. Can you quickly take me through all the bits that we've got here?
So this is a keema. So a keema essentially ordinarily would either have beef or lamb dried, and we've got potatoes in there, we've got peas in there, and simply we've got garam masala, garlic, ginger, and turmeric to give you that Indian spice profile. Right. Delicious. This one, very simple. This is a mixed bean chili. So it's mixed beans, some ancho paste in there, served with rice, bit of vegan cheese, and you're good to go.
All right.
Then we go on to this that you've made already.
That was the shepherd's pie.
Which was very good, by the way. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Especially the crisscrossing on top.
And ordinarily, you could just serve it as is, or have it with some steamed greens. But yeah, it's delicious. Then we've got spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah.
All we did there was add a tin of tin tomatoes, a little bit more tomato puree, and then some vegan parmesan on top. Right. And then here we've got some tacos. So the idea here is it's black beans, which are really high in protein. Right. We'll serve it with some corn tortillas, some guacamole, a little bit of pickle red, and you're good to go. And that is your weekday dinners.
So what is the difference then between doing that with beef? So both in terms of the impact on the planet and also the cost?
Yes, so it's definitely going to be lower carbon footprint. Right. You'd probably be looking at about a quarter of the carbon footprint in this selection of foods compared to if you were using beef.
Right.
So that's really significant.
It's quite a big change. Yeah.
And in terms of cost, in terms of our money, under £1 a portion, I'd say this would be, which would be relatively hard to do if you were doing with meat.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's one more thing that I want to ask, and it requires an implement. Can I taste some of it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, please do.
I'm going to have a go with my shepherd's pie because that's still really nice and hot.
I'm going in too.
Yeah, let's have a little look.
Oh my God. How do you do it, you guys? I mean, it's amazing. I don't know what, I'm still surprised. I've actually cooked some of these things and I'm still surprised. I'll have a little bit more of that just to make sure.
That is absolutely wonderful. Super simple, super easy. And you wouldn't miss the meat.
Yeah.
Not at all, not at all, no.
But guys, you're gonna have to try this though.
Okay, that's the one, yeah, I do want to try
I think
that.
this keema right here might be my favourite of the lot.
Okay.
Okay, let's do that.
And potatoes, I mean, the potatoes are just such a fantastic thing to fill you up.
Okay. Good amount of heat there.
Yeah, man.
You've got that heat, you've got that freshness. Wow, that is very tasty.
Amazing. That is, yeah, there's some heat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
there really is.
Beautiful. The flavours are amazing. I can't even describe them. They're very nice.
So this is Mexican in flavour profile. This is also Mexican in flavour profile. This is the chili. Try that in comparison.
Okay. Wow.
I would say that it's remarkably different.
There's some real heat over here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And this one, that's pretty spicy too.
Oh, is it?
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just having some of my damn self.
Oh.
Wonderful.
I hadn't considered this part of today's shoot. This is the best bit.
Oh, it's always the
This
best.
doesn't happen when you test drive a new electric car. You don't get this.
Yeah.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Amazing. Really, really impressive.
Wonderful.
So yeah, ragu, 5 ways, done.
Energy efficient food.
Exactly.
Nailed it.
So an important thing to remember as I'm shoveling in is that you guys are going to be at our next live show. So Amsterdam, we're going to be cooking in Amsterdam.
Yep.
Then in Sydney.
Can't wait.
Oh my God.
How cool is that going to be?
Ah, that's fantastic. And then XL in London after that. So three live shows. I'm so thrilled that you're doing that. That is really good.
We're
It'll be wonderful.
thoroughly looking forward
Very
to
good. Yeah. In the meantime, let's keep shoveling.
it.